for joining me today. My name is Dawn Perez, and I'm one of the education specialists at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County in West Palm Beach, Florida. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at some of our renewable energy facility samples that we have in our education center, which you can see a picture of behind me. But before we get started with that, we're going to discuss a little bit about the Solid Waste Authority. So the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County is a local government agency that was created in 1975 to manage all of Palm Beach County's waste. That includes garbage, recycling, biosolids, and home chemicals. And so we have to be really efficient and unique about how we manage that waste, because we have 1.4 million people that live in Palm Beach County. And on average, each one of us makes about 12 pounds of solid waste per day. So if you do that math and take the 1.4 million people and multiply it by 12 pounds, at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, we get almost 17 million pounds of solid waste per day. 17 million pounds. That would be like a football field piled up to 27 feet high, which is almost as high as the goalposts. So again, we have to be efficient and unique about how we manage that. We have many different facilities on our footprint that manage those wastes. We have our 2 renewable energy facilities, which burn the garbage and turn it into electricity. We have our recovered materials processing facility, where we take your recycling, we sort it even further with machinery, and then we crush it into cubes or bales and sell those bales to companies that turn it into something new. We also have home chemical recycling centers, where we take things like old batteries, paint, oil, pesticides, things like that that have chemicals in them, and we actually sell them to companies that reuse what they can, and then they dispose of the rest safely. And lastly, we have our biosolids facility, where we actually take your number 2 and turn it into fertilizer. So that is how we manage the waste in Palm Beach County. But like I said, today we're going to be checking out some of our samples that we keep in our education center. So let's start. So in case you haven't seen our other videos, which I highly recommend you check out, I'm going to first walk you through the process of generating electricity out of garbage and how we do that. So this first graphic here is kind of a cartoonish graphic to show you this. Over here is the tipping floor, and that's where the Solid Waste Authority's tractor trailers would pull up to a curb. They would actually walk the garbage into the pit using a walking floor mechanism. And then we do have claws or grapples like this one. We have 3 total that mix the garbage so that we get an even burn. Each one of those claws can pick up to 9 tons of garbage, which is the size and weight of a T-Rex dinosaur. Once those claws mix that garbage enough, then they're going to actually put it into the hopper, which is this cone-shaped machine right here. And the hopper is going to deliver that garbage down onto the wave grate system here and into the fire. And so around the fire, we actually have tubes that have water in them. And we boil that water and create steam. Just like putting a tea kettle on a stove, right? You boil the water, it creates water vapor or steam. And that water vapor or steam goes to our turbine generator, which has a blade, kind of similar to this. And it turns the blade, and ultimately that's how we generate electricity. We're taking mechanical energy and we're turning it into electrical energy. Now I'm going to show you a graphic that's a little more technical. And there's a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, when we generate this electricity, we actually use it to power all of our buildings off of North Jog Road. So you'll see down here that we have the SWA being powered by it, our Renewable Energy Facility 1, and our Renewable Energy Facility 2. Now the excess electricity we actually sell to FP&L, and it gets sent out onto the grid to power some homes and businesses. In the process of making this electricity, however, when we're burning something, there are chemicals, right, that are created. So we have a very high-tech pollution control system, which I'm going to point out here. The first part of that system is our powder activated carbon, which you see here. And that's injected into the flue gas, and it actually eliminates the mercury. The next step is the flue gas goes into the spray dry absorber, or SDA, and this is where we inject a lime slurry, and it actually neutralizes sulfuric acids, which can create acid rain. It then moves into our bag house. And in the bag house, we have a system of filter bags that actually collect the fly ash, or the ash from the air. The fly ash and the bottom ash are later mixed together and sent to the ash management building here. The last step in our pollution control system is called the Selective Catalytic Reduction System, or SCR. Now, this system is only in our renewable energy facility 2. Not in the first one. It has a different way of doing this. But we are actually the only renewable energy facility in the nation to have an SCR. And what this does is it actually neutralizes the nitric oxides. So it's similar to a catalytic converter in your car. So again, the SCR is neutralizing those nitric oxides. And then after it goes through all of that, it goes up the stack. Now, we have a continuous emissions monitoring system in our stack to make sure that we aren't releasing a lot of chemicals, okay? We're continuously monitoring it, making sure we're within the guidelines of the EPA and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And we are actually the cleanest, greenest renewable energy facility in North America, and we're the first one built in the last 20 years. So now that you understand the process of generating electricity from garbage, let's go see some of those samples that I was telling you about from our renewable energy facilities. So here what we're looking at is part of our wave grate. This is a piece of our wave grate, and again, this moves slowly like a conveyor belt or an escalator to bring the garbage down into the fire. And there are actually spaces between some of the grates in order to allow oxygen to keep the fire going. All right, what we have here is a piece of tubing that you find around the fire. So part of that combustion chamber. That combustion chamber has tubes all around the fire that, again, have water in it, and we boil that water, creating steam. So this tube is made from a special alloy called Inconel, which helps protect the pipe from wear and tear, because the inside of the pipe is actually made out of carbon steel, which can rust. So that's why they actually put that special alloy, that Inconel, over it. Now, on the top, you'll notice that that is original. That's from the factory. But as you move down to the bottom, you'll notice that it's not so neat, right? So this is actually where maintenance has been done on this piece of tubing. Welders came in, they found a weak spot, and they went in and they welded it and they fixed it and put more Inconel on that area. Now, unfortunately, you'll notice we have a hole in this tubing. So here's what happened. This tubing was cleaned over and over again in the same spot. And by having repeatedly cleanings in the same spot, it actually wore away the Inconel and it exposed the carbon steel. And so the carbon steel rusted and it got thinner and thinner and thinner until the water pressure was just too much and the pipe burst. And this is actually one of the reasons why we do maintenance on our renewable energy facilities at least twice a year. So what we're looking at now is one of the filter bags from our bag house. And each filter bag is about 2 stories long. And what I'm going to show you now is part of the bottom of that bag, which is sealed. Now, we have about 1,800 filter bags per bag house, and we have 3 of them, okay? What I'm showing you now is the opening of this bag. So this is actually where the bag is going to hang. And the fly ash is going to be collected on the outside of these filter bags. And then when the bag gets too dirty, a sonic horn blast will cause a vibration which shakes the fly ash onto a conveyor belt. And then the fly ash will later be combined with the bottom ash in the ash management building. Now, if you look closely at this, you can see the pores in the bag and the texture. This filter bag is made out of a material called Gore-Tex, and it feels similar to a firefighter's hose. Now, what we're looking at here is one of the turbine blades from our turbine generator. And these blades actually rotate at 3,600 revolutions per minute, or RPMs. Steam turns these blades, as I told you before, and ultimately this is how we generate electricity. Now, as we get close, you'll notice that there is damage on this blade, so this is why this blade had to be replaced. Next, what we're looking at is called refuse-derived fuel. So this is the fuel source for Renewable Energy Facility 1. Renewable Energy Facility 1 was built and started operation in 1989, and it's a refuse-derived fuel source building. So what that means is before the garbage goes into the combustion chamber, into the fire, it has to be sorted and it has to be processed. It actually has to be chopped up into smaller pieces. This is unlike Renewable Energy Facility 2. Renewable Energy Facility 2 is actually a mass burn facility, which means that no processing to the garbage has to be done ahead of time. Anything that is put in the garbage goes directly in the combustion chamber. But like I said, this is refuse-derived fuel for Renewable Energy Facility 1, and you can see it right here. It's been chopped and processed. Now, in Renewable Energy Facility 1, we actually take out metals before the burning process and after the burning process. And so what you're looking at right now are aluminum cans that were taken out before the burning process by using our eddy current system. Another thing that we actually recover from Renewable Energy Facility 1 before the combustion process are coins. So here are some recovered coins that you can see here. On average, every year we recover about $100,000 worth of coins from Renewable Energy Facility 1. So next time you go to throw out clothing or a couch, check it, because you might have some coins left in there. And no, unfortunately, these coins don't go into anyone's yearly bonus or raises. It goes back into the general operating fees. So no raises, no bonuses, general operating fees only. And here we have recovered non-ferrous metals. So that this is actually metals from Renewable Energy Facility 2. So unlike Renewable Energy Facility 1, in our newest Renewable Energy Facility number 2, we do not recover the metal ahead of time. We actually recover the metal afterwards. And we recover about 90% of the metal that's accidentally thrown out. But since we don't recover the metal ahead of time, this is what it ends up looking like because it melts in the combustion chamber. So this is that melted metal. And what's neat is you can even find some gold, pieces of gold in these samples, which I'm pointing at here now. Now, in both our renewable energy facilities, there's obviously things that are left over because you can't burn everything. So there's residue, which you see here, things that can't be burned, the leftovers. Then you have our bottom ash. And again, there's things that can't be burned in there. There's glass, there's some concrete you can see. And then lastly, the fly ash, which again, we get from those bag house filters. And so all of these things are put into the landfill. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is actually not samples from our renewable energy facility. These two containers have samples from our biosolids pelletization facility. And that is where we take your number 2 and we turn it into eco-friendly fertilizer. So yes, these pellets are actually fertilizer, and they are used for agricultural purposes to grow food. So I hope you really liked our presentation today. And if you did, please like and share with your friends and family. Also, if you have any comments, please leave them in the chat box below, in the comment box, and we will get to them. Or you can email us at education@swa.org. Thank you for tuning in again. Just wanted to remind you that we do have recordings like this every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. on Facebook. And if you missed any of the recordings and you want to see them, or you want to see our upcoming schedule, you can actually go to swa.org/education to look those up. So thanks again and have a great day. Bye.